Now we're going to talk about blood typing. Blood typing not only allows us to identify like who's the parent of a child or something like that, but it is the reason that you may be able to donate your blood to your brother, but if your brother gave his blood to you, it would kill you. This whole thing about blood transfusions took a long time for doctors to figure out. Um, so, but in order to understand blood typing, we need to understand the concepts of antigens and antibodies. Antigens and antibodies are an important part of the story of blood typing, but antigens are, antigens are any molecule that your immune system can recognize as being foreign to you. Okay, so if you came down with COVID-19, the molecules that are in that virus are not made by your body, and your immune system would recognize them as foreign and make these proteins called antibodies to fight them. I say fight them, but the way they work is a little subtler than that. Okay, now antigens, we very often think of them as bad things, right? Well, certainly COVID-19 antigens are bad. We don't want them. But if you needed a kidney transplant to save your life, and if the kidney donor, if the donor kidney had antigens on it that your body could recognize, then you couldn't get that transplant, even though it could save your life. So antigens are not really good or bad. An antigen is any molecule that your body's immune system would recognize as not you. Okay, antibodies. You should know this. This is important. It's a question that's going to be on quizzes. Antibodies are always proteins. They're proteins that are made and secreted by B cells that became plasma cells. And once your immune system's B cells become plasma cells and start making these proteins called antibodies, those antibodies will stick to antigens and stop them from harming you. Well, ideally. So when we look to see if someone may have already recovered from COVID-19, we're looking for antibodies that their body has made that allowed them to defeat the virus, right? Now, this word, agglutination. Agglutination is what happens particularly when there are antigens on the surface of cells, and in this case, we're talking about red blood cells, that get an antibody stuck to them, and then that antibody grabs onto another red blood cell, and pretty soon all of the red blood cells are clumped together. Okay? Those are our terms to start out with. I recommend you watch this YouTube video. It's a very good one. You can find these PowerPoint slides in the part of the Canvas page that says PowerPoint slides, right? What is an antibody? An antibody is always a protein. It's made by special lymphocytes, B lymphocytes that have turned into plasma cells. And it is just a sticky, most of them are Y-shaped. All right. Now, from our point of view, talking about blood typing, the antibodies that you have against blood cells are antibodies that you have made against antigens that you don't have, all right? So your body will make these antibodies against antigens that your body doesn't make. Let's just imagine you have got trained attack dogs at your house, and you hate the color blue. So every time someone wears blue, your dog is trained to attack them. Okay, that seems a little psychotic, but it is a little bit like blood typing. When you are in your house, you hate the color blue. You never wear blue, and you make sure all of your friends know If you're coming to my party, you better not be wearing blue because I've trained my dog to attack people who wear blue. Okay? So in your body, you're the red blood cells, and you're like, we never wear blue. So if we ever see someone wearing blue, my antibody is going to attack whatever that cell is. Now, in blood typing, you either have the antigen wearing blue, wearing red, wearing yellow, whatever, or you've got an attack dog trained to attack that antigen, but you never do both, right? If you love wearing blue, that would be as if you have the antigen of blue. You would not train attack dogs to attack blue. You would not have the antibody against blue. Now, I got to get out your lab manual. I almost fell down. It is really useful to do this particular activity on page 116, okay? On page 116, it looks like this. Hold on. There you go. It looks like, man, that's hard to do. Okay, it looks like that, all right? Let's start at the top. The name of the blood type is the name of the antigens that are on the surface of those red blood cells, okay? So if blood type is A, there is antigen A, but there is not antigen B. How do I know there's not antigen B? Because if there was antigen A and B, I would have called it blood type AB. So let's just do the first two columns. Blood type A positive has got A but not B. Blood type A negative has got A but not B. Blood type B positive has got B but not A. B negative has B but not A. AB positive has got A and B. What about O? There's no blood type O. We use the name blood type O to stand in for not A, not B. Otherwise, people would have, I've got blood type A, I've got blood type AB, I've got blood type not A, not B. That'd be dumb. So we call it blood type O. So when you get to blood type O positive, it doesn't have A, it doesn't have B. All right? So go ahead and finish those. Then let's go to the column that says RH. Too much detail. Let's go to the column that says RH. Sticking out of your red blood cells, there are these things called antigens. They're not good, they're not bad. They're just saying, I like to wear blue, I like to wear red, I like to wear red and blue, right? That's all. And there's another set of antigens that are called RH. If you have got RH on your cells, it is called positive. If you don't have RH, then your blood type is called negative. So let's go through them all again. Let's start on page 116 at the top. Blood type A positive does have antigen A, doesn't have antigen B, does have antigen RH. How do I know? Positive. Positive means I'm positive that RH is there. A negative has antigen A, doesn't have B, doesn't have RH. How do I know? It's A negative, A minus, right? That means it doesn't have the RH there. So the name of the blood type is the name of the antigen. So if I tell you I've got blood type O positive, what antigens are on the surface of those cells, you'll go, doesn't have A, doesn't have B, or else it'd be in the name and it's O, okay? Positive, does have RH, right? Not any harder than that. Now, what about antibodies? Sorry. What about antibodies? Okay, let's do this. Oops, wrong way. right here. Okay. The antibodies are these guys. Yeah, I know they don't look like much. They don't look like attack dogs. What are they doing? So what you don't see, this is a red blood cell, and sticking out would be like a little A or a little B, okay? And these antibodies, don't call them agglutinins, I don't care about that name. These antibodies, they have been designed to only attach to one specific antigen. So if this particular guy here in green, if he is designed to attack antigen B, that is the only antigen he will attack. If this person, let's imagine for a moment that this person had blood type A positive. He's got A's sticking out of his red blood cells, A's, okay? And he's A positive, so he also has RH, RH, RH sticking out, right? But if this guy has, this is green guy is an antibody that is anti-B, if that was anti-B, he would have nowhere to hang on to, okay? So this would not have happened. The only reason that this will happen is if there are also B antigen on the surface of the cells. And everywhere there's a B antigen, the antibody will attach to it. You can think of it as the attack dog attacking, right? If there's no B, the attack dog doesn't attack, right? So let's imagine that you are going to throw a party and you have got friends. You own attack dogs that attack blue. But it's going to be a football watching party, and you've got friends that love UCLA or the Dodgers, okay? They're going to wear blue. You would not invite them to your party, or you know badness would happen. That is exactly like a transfusion. So let's look a little deeper. If this transfusion has got B antigen on it, and if this person, oh, here it is, blood from a type A donor. If these cells have got A antigen on them, and if this person has anti-A antibody in their body, then their attack dogs that hate A would attack these cells and make them clump together. That is called agglutination, and that is one of the things that will cause a transfusion reaction, and it'll kill people. Okay, so the RH factor. Actually, before we do that, let's just do one more thing. This card. Let me put a blank slide in here. Whenever you are trying to figure out if a blood transfusion will work, who can donate to who, you always want to do two simple things. You want to know what antigens are in the donated blood, or we might say the antigens of the donor blood. And then you want to know the antibodies of the patient, right? Antibodies of the patient. When transfusions are given, we don't give the plasma from the donor to the patient. We just give the, I'm trying to make that smaller, but that's not working. We just give the red blood cells. So let's do an example. Can a person with B positive blood give blood to an AB negative patient? All right? You don't have to guess. You just do this. You just say to yourself, B positive, which antigens are there? It's right there in the name. BRH. Boom. Okay? Now, that is like he's wearing a blue shirt and wearing a red jacket. Okay? Now, which antibodies are in the patient? Which attack dogs does the patient have? Anti-A? No, that'd be ridiculous because he evidently wears whatever A is. Anti-B? No. Again, that'd be ridiculous because he wears blue. It's right there in his name. But do you see how he is Rh negative? That means he doesn't wear red. Yeah, it's not really red. He doesn't have the Rh antigen, so he does have an attack dog that attacks Rh. Now, you take these red blood cells and you put them in with that, and okay, badness happens. So no, that transfusion couldn't work. Every semester, all of my students want to memorize who can donate blood to who. Just take my word for it. You can't do it. Or maybe if you've got one of those weird, no, you can't do it. And besides, even if you could, it's just easier to understand what's going on and answer the questions that way.